Chew the fat, shoot the breeze, discourse dialogue. Bring to light to be revealed with eloquence forever flowing fearless.
It's a new move. We just came up with that. We're moving off the card into the show. Hope you liked it. Welcome to another Fearless QA. As usual, you can tweet in your questions to Fearless QA, at Fearless QA on Twitter. Do you guys know about Twitter? Because you can use it to ask us questions live. My guest is somebody who I've known a long time, pretty much my whole life, my father. He more than my father, and probably more interesting to people who are watching, is he's been a designer for as long as I've known him too. And when I didn't have any skills that could launch me into any other kind of career, I fell back into the family business and became a designer too. So I have him to thank for just basically giving our family an innate sense of design. It was the way things were done in the Bogusky household. And I thought it was so cool as a kid that like our library books had a Bogusky logo on the inside of them, that I could go to my dad's office and there'd be a basketball uniform that he designed on the wall. And you know, I mean,
I forgot that.
Yeah. I thought that, I mean, to me growing up, that stuff was so, I thought it was just so cool. And I kind of noticed that other kids didn't, oh, you don't have like your own library logo for your books? Like, that's so odd. And that designer lifestyle, I think, was just something that we did. One of the things that I remember from growing up. So welcome to the show, Dad.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
One of the things I remember from growing up was you guys would play that game with other designer friends that would come over.
One designer friend.
You'd play with one friend? Okay.
Just
I couldn't tell how many designer friends were versus...
His name was Jordan Barrett, and he was a great designer.
Great designer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And better than you, probably a little bit.
Tell me to say again.
Jordan was just a little bit better than you, I think, as a designer.
No.
Okay.
See, that's why I didn't hear that.
When
okay, I
tell us
felt
about
that
the
he
game.
was very good.
He was very good.
The competition was there.
He was. I would honestly say he was better at certain things, like better at annual reports, and you were probably better at logos.
I was better at logos, and he wasn't a great ad man either. He was
Maybe. Let's not. I mean, let's keep it positive. But you guys would play a game. See, it's going to be very. It's going to expose a lot of our relationship, I think. Which it's not a great idea to have your dad on a show if you have a show, I think. Or if you do, don't make it an hour long. You know, Letterman has his mom on, but it's really short, right?
So you say keep off the personal stuff?
No, I'm just saying this show probably will be not more than 5 or 10 minutes. That we'll decide to cut it.
Okay.
Tell us about this game that you played.
We'd go over to Jordan's house and his wife Patty, and we'd sit there and we'd come up with fictitious company names. And each of us had 5 minutes to design a logo. And then the two wives would vote on it. And it was a great game because sometimes I would struggle. I said, oh, Jesus Christ, I can't come up with anything. Think. Yeah. And he'd come up with this. And it was a jewel.
Yeah.
I said, what did I think of that? I mean, it's so basic. But it was a nice kind of way to spend an evening. And it beat the heck out of Pong.
It's sort of like that. There is that game now that's like you model things out of clay and you draw things. I forget it. Cranium. It's become an actual game. Not logos, but there should be a logo version of Cranium. A designer version of Cranium.
Yeah.
And you have to design a product out of clay or logos, graphic identities, and you have, you turn over the timer, you've got a few minutes. So there was that going on at the house. There was CA on the coffee table. There was graphice, in the bathroom. And you wind up growing up with all this stuff, and part of me thinks it's really cool, but another part of me as a kid is like, it's sort of like if you were a cobbler, right? Like my dad does this stuff, and I don't want to do what, you don't want to do what your dad does in some ways.
We were really so proud when you came into the family business. Because if you didn't, then what would happen?
We would have had to shut it down.
Yeah.
Well, what happened really was that it was Mom that taught me how to do mechanicals, and then that was, you know, a way for me to make money when I was unemployed.
How many of your audience knows what a mechanical is?
I don't. Probably only 6 or 7 people know what a mechanical is anymore. It's back in the day where we would glue things on pieces of cardboard to make the art to produce things, and it was fun. It was actually fun. We'd have to spec type, which, you know, you'd have to do the math to figure out how the type was going to fit and stuff. So we have got a ton of questions from people out there. A lot of questions come from kids that are in school, and so
School kids?
yeah, and they're in
Grade school or high school?
no, I think college, like designers, but probably some grade school kids as well, because we appeal to that mindset.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think
it's
we
like
are.
watching a cartoon. So one of the questions that came to you, and we're gonna go. I got a ton of logos that my dad's done, and it's gonna be fun to kind of go through them, because I think logos have changed over the last 30 years a lot, and you've been involved in it the whole time, and something has been lost, other things have been gained, you know, and I think it depends on your perspective how you feel about that, but my dad's got a blog, and he put all these old school logos up on his blog, and I call them old school. You're looking at, you know, you have a blog, right?
I know I have.
Yeah, okay. And you put all those logos on there, and people loved that stuff. I mean, you got a tremendous amount of hits to your blog.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I call it my bog blog.
Bog blog.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cute. So,
I'm not know that.
I don't know. Do you want to like zoom in on these, or is it all right the way it is? I got this.
Okay.
You know, Boys Town. I just remember really the first time I ever saw this. I guess I was about 13.
Yeah.
And you know, you don't realize that you're getting exposed to things like negative space. This is just a beautiful example of negative space, I thought, and it's for the Boys Town, which is, you know, puts together mentoring for young men. So.
Boys Town is still in existence.
So in the day that you made that,
Yeah.
What's the process?
The process here?
Back then, you had to draw it, right?
Yeah. Now that's all hand done. I mean, ink.
How do
and
you
a
get?
brush.
How do you use ink and brushes to make the lines like that? It doesn't seem possible. I think people today would wonder how that is even possible.
That could have been done with tape.
No, because they're tapered. These are
They're
tapered.
tapered?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a fellow work for me. His name was Tony Lampasso, the world's finest craftsman as far as drawing a line, and he did it by hand.
So what you would do is you'd do a sketch, and you'd say, "Tony, here's the idea,"
Yeah, that was
and he'd start putting it together.
Sure, it was a great system.
And what I remember back in those days too, I was in it in those days, is you'd make a positive, then you'd shoot a negative, then you'd make a positive, then you'd shoot a negative. And that was like one of the ways you'd continue to clean it and refine it till it looked like it was made by a computer, which there were no computers, so I don't know why we were trying to make things look like they were made by
You
computers.
say a positive and a negative, a positive and a positive, negative what? A
Stat.
photostat.
Photostat.
Okay, people, I don't think you can go anywhere.
Everyone remembers the giant photostat machine that would be in the corner of the studio in a dark room, and you'd get on there and you'd crank a big thing on the side, and no one remembers that. But that was basically what would be your first job when you got into graphics. I was a stat boy.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, you were probably pre-stat. There wasn't even a stat camera.
No.
There were no cameras.
Pre-stat, come on.
Had Leonardo invented the
No, we used to-
camera obscura
No.
when you had started?
That's
Kidding.
Cute. That's cute.
So what would you use pre-stat camera? There was.
Well, you know, just a jagged stick, and I would stick it in the mud and do a logo. It didn't take
And
much.
you'd bring people over to look at your clay tablet.
Yeah.
That was one of the questions that was tweeted in. That was good. Here's another one that I always really liked. My dad printed out a bunch of these for us on a computer, Hydrotech. How'd you get these in a computer, by the way?
Oh, these I scanned.
All right.
These are
Underwater detection devices, 1968. This one, just awesome, right?
Yeah.
It says water, it says eye, it says detection. I don't think anyone does this stuff anymore. You know, it's just changed.
Yeah, but it's only also there's that whole Bauhaus thinking that I was into at that time. I
Yeah.
mean, the minimalist line and just how few lines I can actually construct a logo.
Yeah,
with.
yeah. That was a big thing that you talked a lot about. And the other thing was everything had to be done in black and white.
Yeah, unless you can never embroider something. Everything had to be reduced because there was so much newspaper stuff being done.
Right.
And the newspapers in those days destroyed, all printing.
So what do you think now? That was one of the questions that came in. Now, do you think that logos should be, is your process to design in black and white first before you do anything else? And what do you think?
I don't think the rules have changed. I think the ability of a logo to be reproduced on a coffee cup remains, or reproduced or embossed anywhere. Its basic black and white quality should reflect its message.
But I don't think you do that so much now.
I do. I still do.
You don't really.
Oh yes, I do.
Okay. So, but a lot of the stuff that I see that you do on CrowdSpring. So this will bring us into like some modern stuff that you do.
Yeah.
What CrowdSpring? What's the other one?
99.
99, and you should know that, and you do know that, like, it's hotly debated, this whole aspect of design. That there is crowdsourced design. 99 designs. So when you do something on there, I noticed that sometimes it looks to me like you're designing in color right away, and you're definitely not. It doesn't look like you're designing on paper anymore before you move
No, I
to
do
the
sketch.
computer.
I
You do a
still-
sketch, really?
I still sketch.
I should have asked you to bring your sketches.
No, they're nothing.
Oh.
They're just I trash them immediately. No, but I still do sketch because I sketch with a black pen, and I'm not thinking color. Color is a problem in a logo because it's so subjective. You're trying to appeal to two people on these sites. You're appealing to a client, and you're appealing to what you think the mass audience is.
Yeah.
And that's a bitch. Because the client hates red, and then you have to somehow indicate, no, the whole planet doesn't hate red.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So
But you also are a bit of a contrarian, right? So if the client's like, I hate red, you'll probably
That's
lob
my
in something
color.
with some red on it, right?
Yeah. Not all the time.
Not all. Not every
It depends
time.
on how he phrases it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Depends on it.
So one of the challenges to crowdsourcing is that it commoditizes design, right? That
Yeah.
people can't charge. And obviously, if you look at what you would have charged for even this logo, well, probably in '68 it would be comparable. But I think you guys were $1,000 a logo is what I remember in the '80s-ish, right?
Yeah, and then it crept up. So it was anywhere between 1,000 and 5,000 is what we charge for a logo.
Anywhere between 1,000 and 5,000. So now it's on those sites
$150 they have is a minimum of 99.
a minimum, yeah. But
Yeah.
it's often 150 to 500, something like that.
Well, no, they do have some things which they label pro, and then they get up to 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and almost 5,000 for some logos.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but then you find that the entire population of Western Europe is submitting logos.
Yeah.
And they run into the thousands, and the odds against you getting a logo are phenomenal.
Yeah, and you've won 14, I think.
14 logos.
14 logos.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest money you've ever made in your life, right?
Well, no.
No?
No.
What was the hardest?
Man, I don't know. Well, walking horses around Coney Island was the hardest money I ever made.
Yeah.
No, it was the longest amount of time I've ever spent on anything.
Well, that would make it the hard. I was just like, per hour, you probably made 6 or 7 cents per hour to.
Something in that area. Yeah. No, nobody's going to get rich doing logos. And there's some damn good people.
So why do you do it, knowing that, like, a lot of people would say you were a professional designer, you had your career, now it's my turn, and with your capabilities to play in that arena, you're ruining it for me. You know, there'll be no market for me.
I'm a logo junkie. I'm a design junkie. I always have been. Free time I spend on napkins in restaurants doing a new logo for the restaurant. I have to design. I can't help it.
So have pity on me. It's sort of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
you're playing the pity card. I like it. I felt something.
Well, I mean, I don't have to
know
be
what it was.
institutionalized because of it.
Yeah, no, I think that you're not that much of a junkie. Do we need to put you on a program to wean you off of design?
Don't wean me off,
No,
please.
no. This is sort of, we started talking about this. So tweet in your questions about my dad and his attitudes about crowdsourcing to Fearless QA. Have you ever had a client bring you an idea that they want to see, right? And then how do you deal with that?
I'm trying to remember if I ever have. If I ever have, I'll usually, and this is in all honesty and in all candor, I said, that's very nice, but why are you paying me? Go ahead, have somebody do it.
You love this.
Well,
To the
no,
client.
it's not the whole finger.
It's like
yeah,
that.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, it's partial. You know, I mean, why people come to a graphic designer and they're loaded with ideas, and they're loaded with colors. I says, well, then why are you wasting both of our times? Why don't you just go ahead and go somebody who listens to you? But if you're coming to me asking me, well, you're pretty good, this is why I'm here, and I'm going to pay you, and we'll do it.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, then
One of the things you do like about crowd spraying and 99 Designs, I noticed, is just that it's easy to flip off the client too.
oh, sure, geez. I mean,
It's like a digital system for flipping off clients.
I mean, I watch him and it gives me a 1. And I go look up there and this guy gets a 4. I said, schmuck, what? A 4? You're ridiculous. Out I go.
Withdrawal.
Well, the fact is, you know, we're not on the same page. There's no way I could possibly please the guy.
What
so-
if he got confused about the rules and 1 was his highest mark?
No, no,
You know,
he's
I mean,
already-
maybe he just didn't really read it.
No. There's a comparison. I mean, I'm comparing my 1 to this guy's 4.
But maybe the guy thought 4 was what he would give a crappy score. He had you in first place.
Then I don't want to work for him because the guy's a moron.
Because he's a moron. Good. Okay. If you can't follow the directions, I don't want to work with you. Bill Bogusky.
I mean, it's bad enough that some of the designs that are picked are just graphic debris,
Yeah.
and like, you know, they're done with crayons.
There's been some nice work done with crayons.
I'm sure.
So here's one that I remember seeing.
One of my favorite.
It's one of my favorites. Too.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. Linen Supply Association of America. And I probably saw it 30 times before I noticed that it was an L, an S, an A, and an A
I'm surprised.
of folded linen.
I thought that thing would jump out on you.
I was a child. This was 1965. I was 3. All right.
Okay.
Give me a freaking
Small
break.
wonder. But
3 years old.
this is a case of a logo with dumb.
I was 2. Still not good at math.
This is dumb luck. To
Yeah.
have those 3 initials
Yeah.
come up to make the folds of the sheet is pure dumb luck.
But isn't that like that's the thing about a logo is that feeling when you've hit the dumb luck spot?
Oh, I love
right?
that.
Yeah.
I love that. And the greatest thing about a logo for me is to learn a logo. If you learn a logo, you'll never forget the logo.
You learn like
Just like you learned this one.
right. Yeah. And Zeke's favorite, or, your grandson's favorite logo, I think. Well, one of them is FedEx because he saw the arrow.
Dumb luck.
I agree. I was like, he's like, did they do that on purpose? I'm like, not the first time. Yeah.
No.
But they worked it to make, because X's aren't really quite that shape, so they had to work it. But,
Yeah, but they got real lucky. And everyone, on CrowdSpring, they say, give
I'm
me
sure
a
they-
logo like FedEx, give
sure
me a logo like Apple, give me a logo like Nike. I says, all right, if your name was Apple, if your name is Nike.
Well, Nike's logo, I remember the first time I saw Nike's logo, and I was like, that is the worst logo ever, because it was a ripoff of the Puma logo, because Puma was a well-known company. There was this little Nike company, and you're like, Nike sneakers, they turned the Puma swoosh, or Puma wing upside down and then did this thing. It doesn't even connect into the bottom. It's so lame. But you put billions and billions of dollars of great product and ideas behind it. And then it is a beautiful logo now. Logos do take on, they change over time, I think. Like the way you see them actually changes if they're surrounded by the right things.
No, I still have no...
you still don't like that one?
Nike?
You just said you liked it.
No, I never said I liked it. No, I don't like the Nike logo.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's just...
This one I want to do...
Does it mean anything?
Now, what about this one? So it's the Public Trust Theater Company. The P is clearly backwards.
It is, and it always bothered me. But...
Like, this is one of those where you're like, I've hit it, yet maybe not quite.
Yeah, but
this
I like
is not
the
dumb
idea.
luck. This is forcing your hand a little bit, but it works. I like it a lot.
You know, public trust, and here's this guy with his arm around the other guy, and it's got a nice feel to it.
It's nice. It's nice.
That's in Coconut Grove, Florida.
1994. 1962, Dade School Construction Seminar. This one it makes me happy because I remember doing a logo for a company called Twig, and I drew a tree very much like this tree, and then I had just this branch here on the ground right here.
That was a nice logo. I remember that logo. Excellent. There's a story behind this logo. At my office, somebody came and brought the logo to me, and he said, "This is terrific." This was after you had
left.
You gotten some measure of success. I said, "Here you are. You designed this logo, and the way he put it, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree."
Because we had these two.
This is the first logo I ever did as a graphic designer.
Really?
For money.
Yeah.
The number one. And I said, yeah. And he rolled uphill.
Who inspired you to get into design?
My mother. No, she didn't inspire me. She forced me.
Yeah.
No, she said.
There's a fine line.
Well,
in my experience. Yeah.
Yeah, immigrants really, they want you to make, the offspring, they want you to make money.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have a talent. So I think if you want to make money, you should go to art school. So she made us apply for the School of Industrial Art in New York, which was a trade school.
And you probably read it in the newspaper or something that it was a good career for.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're going to make money drawing pictures, what better?
And you guys drew all the time. So you and your brother. I love this. This is a illustration from the days of your studio in the '60s.
Yeah.
It's got that '60s vibe, and that's you and your brother Al, who was also a designer, eventually moved more into photography.
Into photography, and a great retoucher
Isn't it
also.
Cool image though.
Airbrushing. He did it before you ever had Photoshop. A real airbrush.
This is the other thing that, like, when I'm a kid, I walk in the office and there'd be this on the wall, and I'm kind of thinking like, it's almost like if there was a marble sculpture of your dad somewhere. You know, it had like it had that kind of impact on me. Like, someone's bothered to draw my dad. He must be really important.
Well, this is an ad that we ran also.
Oh.
And it was called, the headline was "The Brothers Whatchamacallit."
You didn't bring the Brothers Bogusky logo, which is another good one.
I forgot the Brothers Bogusky logo.
Yeah, that was a nice one.
Yeah.
Was that Otis Sweat? Did he do that illustration or no?
No, Glenn Jones.
Glenn Jones. Oh, okay.
Glenn Jones.
You had amazing people working for you too. When you think about what there isn't as much of anymore is the craft of graphic design. There were all these, there were 20 some odd people in the studio that I remember, and they were amazing craftsmen. Hand lettering type.
Yeah. I think back now. In fact, I thought about it last night about Glenn Jones. He was also a painter.
Yeah.
And he was a very successful painter in Miami. And I came to him once with an ad, and I said, "Give me some of that painterly quality." Mm-hmm. And he said, "No."
He's like, "That's for me."
He says, "That's my art.
Yeah.
This is commercial,
so I'll sell out, but only to this.
Yeah.
You get a little of this,
Yeah,
but
I guess I'll give you.
you don't get the whole Glenn Jones.
Yeah.
I actually like this. I'm not going to say it.
But this is
Better than his paintings. Did I just say that? This one, Deep Six.
one of my favorites.
Underwater salvage. It's hydro. It's a 6. It's got a drop in it. It's awesome. 1976. A lot of 6
And
going on.
You know how this came to me? It was done. This logo took me
$1,000,
5
please.
minutes, and it took me 3 days to render it.
Yeah, it took a long time to make it right.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing where you sketch it and the negative and positive space are easy, but then you make it. The other thing I like about this logo, if you really go in tight, you can see that the lines are not perfect really, Like there's a little bit of, this arc is just not quite right,
Right.
Which I love though.
Well, you like that from...
Well, now if people did it wrong, they do it wrong because they'd leave an extra point in there and illustrate or something. You know what I mean? They just wouldn't notice or that. But back in the day, it's not wrong. It's just that's the hand. You see the hand in it, which I love.
That was also Tony's hand, too.
That's Tony for sure. I want to move forward to a couple of Crowd Spring. You brought some more recent logos. Oh, but there's a question that somebody asked that I want to talk about. Type design, right?
Right.
You have a bunch of fonts that you
have.
designed, and you didn't design a font till you were retired, right?
I had done... no. Actually, the computer is what introduced me to type design. I could never have designed a face myself because I would have to render it.
Right.
And like Herb Lubalin had Carnesi, who used to avant-garde. That was all hand done. And I just couldn't have the patience or the skill to do it.
Yeah.
But Fontographer, a computer program.
So you always wanted to, and you didn't really have the tool. You didn't have the partners for it.
No.
Yeah.
But the computer gave me the ability to do it. So I designed 58 fonts.
Who were your heroes? You talk about Lubalin. Like, who were your heroes even prior to Lubalin? Were there heroes before that era? I mean, the '60s are easy. We know them: Saul Bass, Lubalin, and et cetera.
There was Garamond. There was Baskerville.
No, not the.
Those
fonts.
are my heroes. Those were real people.
They were people?
Yes.
Christ Almighty. Lost to the
All
ages.
those fonts had real names for real people.
Okay.
Karnak was a real person.
The psychic. Yeah, he told the question to.
That was Kreskin.
Well, Karnak, wasn't that the on Johnny Carson? Didn't he do Karnak?
Well, he did something like that. Yeah, that's
Okay.
close. All right.
So if you were, one of the questions that got tweeted in, if you were stranded on a desert island, what 5 typefaces would you bring with you?
Oh, okay. Simple. Futura.
I like that it's simple. Oh, no, I've thought about this.
No, there's nothing to it. Futura, Helvetica.
Kind of redundant.
No, it's not.
I know.
They're different. They're just
It's just
totally
wouldn't be-
different.
I would go
typefaces.
Helvetica.
Okay, Bodoni.
Wasn't on my list.
Okay, Stymie.
Stymie or Lubalin.
Yeah. Square serif.
Yeah, you need 1 square serif for sure.
And I need 1 script, and it's probably going to be
Ooh,
Shelley.
a script.
Some Spencerian
I wasn't even
script.
going to bring a script.
Yeah, a Spencerian script.
How many is that? How many?
Because it'd
did
be
you
for
do?
invitations in case there was.
Yeah, if you could get other people to come to the islands,
Yeah,
you'd need a script for
I
sure.
put it in a bottle.
I think
and
I could do stuff with Helvetica that would get people to visit, though. So what was that? Was that 5?
We have 5.
You didn't have like a Garamond or a Times or a Palantino or anything like that? Oversight, perhaps?
We didn't have 5. We had 4.
You better add
Then
one
I
of
would have
those.
put a Garamond in.
Garamond.
Yeah. I definitely would have. Thanks for catching that.
You bet. So, couple like the recent ones that you've lobbed into the crowdsourcing arena.
I just love lobbing logos.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a grenade.
Well, that's you take one, right? Throw it in, and if you win a couple bucks, fine. But you move on. You just
Of
don't.
course. How much
yeah.
time did I spend? 15 minutes?
I think one thing that people should learn is he's won a bunch of them. I don't think he's ever responded to any of the comments that people have said, hey, it'd be great if you could do this, other than withdrawn, It's like, oh, you have a comment? I'm out. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't.
And I think it's true even in the real world. It's like those clients that are like, back and forth. You know, it's not going anywhere.
It's not the real world.
Yeah.
I mean, why are they hiring me?
They're not. It's crowd spraying.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. No, they're not hiring you. So this one, forefront, right? I kind of like this.
I like it too.
Yeah.
I sent this to you and you responded very favorably.
Yeah, I like this one. And you know that I don't lie when I don't like stuff. You know, I'm pretty honest.
So, yeah, when I get a word, that 4-letter word that you send, I hate.
What's that?
Nice.
Nice. So nice, you know, means you did it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the word try could go after the word nice.
Nice try. Now, what's this one? What was Forefront? Search marketing tools. All right.
I don't remember what this outfit did.
You don't?
No.
Well, how do you say it? Expion.
It's Expion, yeah.
You say it Expion?
Yeah.
And what's the idea here?
No idea. It was about the best looking X I could come up with.
Sort of a division sign X, though. I thought maybe they divided things.
There's nothing matter. No mathematics.
No math.
No.
This one, I don't like the type. Got to say, I don't like the Expion.
Oh, it's too bad. I designed that font.
I just, you know, it's not right.
That's my best-selling font.
Look, baby teeth gets a lot of uptake out there on the web. It doesn't make it a great font. You're not going to take it to the desert island.
No, but
I'm not saying
I
it's not.
I was going to take this one too.
It's not and I would take. It's not that. It's just that it's a specialty font. You know, there's a lot of those specialty fonts.
Yeah, this is what amazes me because so many people are buying this font, and I'm saying to myself, what on earth are they using it for?
Right. Well, you used it.
Yeah.
Probably for
it's almost
logos.
It's almost illegible.
Have you ever seen your own font and your first reaction was like, oh, that's not, and then you're like, oh, it's mine.
You're the guy who showed me Nike's poster series that used my go-go fonts.
Yeah, I was at Nike one time. I took a picture and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's my dad's font. And I took a picture of this poster and sent it to you.
I was so proud of myself. I really was.
I was proud of you too.
Yeah, I felt so good.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool to throw something out into the world and then just see someone pick it up and do stuff with it, right?
Well, it makes you real. It makes you, you can touch yourself when you do something like that.
You shouldn't judge yourself only by that, though. You're already real, complete, and worthy. Here's one, software developer, 2007, Nudge Digital. I kind of like it. It's got a little nudge thing happening. There's some action. One of the pixels is coming off because of the nudge.
Isn't that cute?
It's a good one. I'd like to see it. You know, I'd actually like to see it not in color. You know,
I'd like
to see all these. I'd like to see all these just black and white.
Oh, no, I'm showing you the way I presented them.
Yeah, I just would like to see.
You got to show Shadowwood.
Yeah, so I'd like to see like stuff in black and white.
I've got more compliments on this logo than almost all of my logos.
Shadowwood.
Shadowwood.
So you got trees, you got shadows, you've got a badge-like thing happening. 1988. I remember that one. That's a nice one.
Yeah, and put these in the context of the year they were done, in which they were done. I don't hate the dangle participle.
But I think a lot of people would say they were done in the golden age of logo marks. You know, that now we are not in the golden age. That now...
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
I mean, a lot of what's been tweeted in is like what has been lost because of the computer. And you know, you have I remember a lot of your contemporaries got out of the business when the computer showed up because it was, you know, it was daunting to learn. And you came over
like a hurricane.
You came over to my office.
Palm trees littered the
Everyone was
graphic
gone.
neighborhood.
Everyone was gone, and you came over my office, and we had one of those, like a Mac Classic maybe or something. Right?
You had a
Mac 2.
Mac 2, and you showed me what it could do. I asked you.
Yeah.
Can it do this? And blah, blah, blah. Can it do that? And then you did it. And one last question: can it drop out type out of a photo? And you did it. I did cartwheels back to my office. And Dixie remembers, I want the catalog and I'm ordering. And that afternoon I ordered that's when it cost money.
Yeah.
$12,000 worth of equipment.
Yeah. And within a year, I was calling you saying, "How do you do this?"
Yes,
like,
you were.
I mean, you were my tech guy because
Yeah.
you got into it more than I did.
I'm still there.
Yeah, you still actually are more computer literate, I think, than I am.
Yeah, I love computers. To me, the computer extended my graphic life about 15 years.
Yeah. And
during that time, I was doing the work, just Dixie and I doing the work of 20 people.
Yeah.
Which, you know, maybe one of the economy is where.
So George Lois, right, was talking at one of the schools that watches the show, and I got roughly what, you know, or he was, I don't know where he was at. He got sitting next to this kid. The kid's working on his computer. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, just messing around." Like, "Well, what's the idea?" He's like, "I don't know." And it really upset George Lois that, you know, that's the state of design. You know, he saw it as an indictment. Where we've gone with design, where it's a lot of just, you know, is it a lot of just fucking around? You know, has it lost that purpose? I think it's just what happens. You can get, I think you can get. Should I keep going, or do you want to answer the question?
I don't know what the question is really, except that I don't see how anybody can sit down at a computer and design with a computer. For me, the pencil and the pad is critical. You've got to have some starting point, even if it's an X.
But you know, I'll challenge that a little bit in you, because you talked about, even yesterday you mentioned, and knowing, as being a mentor of mine in design, you think of something and then you put it down on a piece of paper. So even when you draw, you don't do a lot of figuring, and you don't do 50 sketches.
No, I didn't mean that. I was leaving out that.
Yeah, but I mean, if you go from here to paper and then to computer, you could also probably go straight from here to computer. You know, my first
stole that
boss,
from me.
What?
That's my concept.
What? Oh, no. I'm not saying psychically go. I'm not saying like have a helmet on that takes the idea out of your head and puts it in the computer. I'm saying
that's what we need.
That you can go from an idea, and you could bypass the paper. I don't think you should. A lot of things you taught me, you no longer do. You know, you are very much you're into the computer. And you do.
I have to admit it.
Right?
Yeah, I have to admit it.
So do you think anything's been lost? I mean, the question is like, do you think anything's been lost, or do you think George Lois has just got that thing that happens when you get older, where you know, things have changed. Some are good, some are better, and you become nostalgic and you look at the past through.
They're both the same creativity. If you're farting around on a pad, or you have your eyes closed and you're picking colors and typefaces and assembling them, they're both creativity. I don't think anything's been lost at all. The capability of the artist is reflected in his ability, because whatever he's putting here is coming out of here anyway.
So do you think that, you know, you talked about a large portion of what's on crowdsourced stuff is just junk, right? Do you think that if you had the process that existed prior, you'd see the same? If people had to do it on paper and, you know, move it into pen and ink and stuff, do you think it'd be as junky?
Oh, I don't know.
I actually do. I think it'd be just as junky. I remember being in art school, and like, you know, even things like press on type was new, right? When I was in art school, where you could like rub down type, and I had no idea that existed, because I, you know, spent my time in a studio with people who could paint type better than most kids could press it on.
I never used press type.
No, you guys never used it, because you had people that could just paint Helvetica. You could just say, hey, do this headline in Helvetica, and they would just paint it.
And they didn't have a pad or a type book next to them.
They didn't have anything to reference.
They just drew Helvetica because their Helvetica was there.
Yeah. But you know, there were tragedies in design that occurred with all sorts of technology, and I think that, you know, we still have them occurring today. I don't really blame the tool, but I do think something's fundamentally changed in the process, and the design that comes out of a computer reflects the computer.
Yeah, it has changed. And a good example is some of the logos I've seen. There's a program out there that makes three-dimensional things out of characters. Mm-hmm. And these people are producing these globes with these star-shaped people going around them.
It's the ESPNing of all the logos in America.
Yeah, those are so horrible.
The first ESPN logo is pretty bad. but it's popular enough that everyone ripped it. Like there's been an ESPNing, and it's.
Oh, is that what the word
I'm
is?
calling it. I've just decided to call it ESPNing.
It's horrible.
It's bad.
It's horrible, and it's not
Stop
reproducible in any form except television.
And the other thing you see a lot of people do is like, well, I could use a gradient, right?
Gradients are a giggle.
He likes it.
I never could, I never could use an airbrush, and now I have an automatic airbrush. So I like using gradients.
I don't like
but
that.
I don't use a gradient that doesn't immediately transfer into a solid. In other words, the form of the logo doesn't rely on the gradient. The gradient just gives it a little bit of depth on occasion.
I'm not.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, it makes some sense. Here's this is a pretty fun one.
Oh, that.
It's not a very good copy of it, but
No, this is a nice story.
Dad's Electric,
Yeah.
1967. Really?
Yeah, 67. Our studio was converted storefronts, and
The mustache is lightning bolts.
yeah,
Okay, you're aware of that.
and he came to the office with his wife and his 2 children and asked how much a logo cost. And I didn't want to tell him because I knew that I would lose him. I said, well, what business are you in? He says, I'm an electrician. And what's the name of your company? Dad's Electric. And a bolt went into my head. The logo existed instantly. And I said, for you, nothing.
Oh, that's nice.
I didn't charge him because
If you want to negotiate with this man, bring your wife and child. That's the key.
and bring a good name.
Yeah. Did he have a good mustache? Like, did it represent him?
Yeah, a good name.
Did it represent him?
And I wanted a good sample because I wanted an award with the logo.
So, this is another one. If you're from Miami, maybe you remember this one, but this was the type house when you used to send your type out.
Right.
And this guy's name, Livy, right?
Livy Shepard.
Livy Shepard. And this was just, I don't know. It was sort of legendary in the graphic design world of South Florida.
Yeah, that's him.
Because the dude would show up sometimes.
Yeah, Livy was a little bit of a, not a little bit, Livy was a nut bar, but he knew type. And
Big
he knew how
pothead,
to spec
right?
type, he knew how to set type, and he knew how to handle type, and he knew how to make proofs. And he just knew the business, and it was a delight dealing with him.
It was the best type house for a long time.
For a long time. There was one guy before him who was different, was Norman type. Those are the days when there were handset type. Livy was into the automatic machines, but back then, actually, people would, in the whole annual report with all those numbers,
Yeah.
they would set each number, and they would go into the case, and you spend weeks assembling an annual report.
No, I know. And it's like, hey, we got to change, right?
Change the window.
Yeah. In a way, it was, what was funny is I set metal type just in school, just to learn about it,
Yeah.
and set a galley. And, it's almost impossible to do right at first. It takes a lot of experience. But,
Well, you're reading backwards, too.
exactly, everything's backwards. So, and trying to understand the spacing while you're looking at something that's backwards and make sure the commas are in there, I mean, it's really hard. So, but what's interesting is everything seemed like it's always been in a rush. My whole history and working in graphics,
Yeah.
you never had enough time.
No.
And so when the computer came along and you could do things so much faster than you used to be able to do it,
You had it even less time.
you just still had less time. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if it was less. It was the same amount of no time. Right?
Well, that's all,
someone will use absolutely all the time. There'll
the-
be someone in your life who will use up your time.
What's the bottom line of that rush,
What is the bottom line?
of the rush?
Is this a question? I'm not
Yeah.
following. You're asking me?
Am I allowed to ask you a question?
No, not in this format. I mean, later, when we get home, you can ask me. Do you remember this one?
Yes, that still exists. This was done in 1973, and just last year, a friend of mine called me. He says, I was driving through North Carolina, and I saw your Coniston Falls logo.
That's cool. Yeah. So it's a C. You have a lot of water stuff. There's been a lot of
in the water.
big water theme.
Yeah, well, the water theme plus North Carolina has a lot of rivers.
Some awesome birds. I'm just gonna do these two together. unless there's a story.
I love birds.
1987 and oh, it doesn't have a date on metal. You remember when this one is, the Meadowlark?
Around the same time. No, earlier. Actually, it was earlier.
Yeah, I think this one was earlier. I want to do this. When I was a kid.
Yeah, this is a funny story.
When I was a kid, again, another thing that you just like, you think, man, my dad's cool. There was a radio station in town. It was called Zeta 4. And when you turned 16, you hoped that you could get a car, right? But the first thing you would do if you had a car is you would go to the record store and you'd buy the Zeta 4 license plate. And this wasn't like me because I knew my dad had designed the thing. This was 100% of every teenager in South Florida had to have this logo on the front of their car. And it was very, you know, it was like, it was a badge. And again,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, to me, it marked, I'm trying to think what it was. It was the Livestrong bracelet of rock and roll in South Florida, this logo.
And the interesting thing about this whole series of logos is that...
Wait, so it's Zeta and then there's a 4. That's probably pretty obvious.
No, it's not that obvious. That's why it bothered me.
I think it's pretty obvious.
Never totally
I think
thrilled.
if it was any more obvious. So the other thing I love about this is the way it's got the lines that, you know, kind of, this is when we knew computers were coming. We hoped that they would maybe come, and we're like, stuff could kind of go boop, 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 boop,
it could do that. Freehand used to be able to do that. Illustrator won't do that.
But this is done by hand. Somebody doing the math and figuring out how far
That's
apart
right.
each line is going to be. And I've tried to do this by hand, this exact effect, and it messes with your head, actually.
It's called a gradient.
Touche.
Oh, so regarding this, these logos were all done for the same company that owned 3 stations in Miami.
This one
also.
WINZ. But this was kind of a oldies station or something, right?
It's a news station.
Okay, I remember it was not important, whatever it was.
Because did you bother listening to the news?
No one cared.
No.
Yeah. Nice logo, though.
But a nice logo.
Yeah.
All right. And I didn't like him. And so a friend recommended that I do the logos for him, and I did want to let my friend out. But I just didn't like the guy.
You didn't like the guy that owned the stations?
No. So I said, okay, I'll do the logos for him. I'll give him one shot, and if he doesn't like the logos, I'll say, forget it.
The small one, not a full one.
The frigid digit.
Yeah.
And he loved them. First shot, no revisions, don't make a change. And we grew to become friendly.
You actually started to...
Nothing serious.
See, I
forgave him.
Someone I really don't like, who then winds up liking my work, I like.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, he has good taste.
Yeah.
In people and in work.
So was there a person, we sort of talked about, Lubal and Dorfsman, right?
CBSI, Dorfsman.
Who, and just television graphics in general, who inspired you early in your career? You kind of said Garamond, but I don't really buy that. You know, that was a
cop out. That was just a giggle.
Yeah.
Who inspired me? I think Saul Bass.
So he was already doing it when you were a 16-year-old trying to get a job?
Yeah. Saul Bass, his combining of graphics and type and the way he worked it, this was the real, he was a god for me.
Yeah.
And then the movie titles that he did were just outrageously fantastic. Man with the Golden Arm.
I don't remember. Not really.
Was that Saul Bass? Okay, I'm just checking with my
checking with the fact checkers. Thank you.
and he did the Rose Tattoo. The Rose Tattoo was a gorgeous thing because you talk about negative space. It was just a negative of a rose done in black and white, just petals, and behind it, flame.
As a graphic.
As a graphic, just
graphic.
A real flame. So it would only appear when the flame appeared behind it. It was just beautiful time.
So back in the day, you were part of a pretty good, there was a Miami kind of graphic design scene, there was a club, there was an ad club. It was a pretty good club. The community was kind of vibing, and you would have speakers down, right? You guys would invite folks down.
Yeah, we had Lou Ballin and Dorfman came down and...
Really? So you had both those guys come down?
Judged our show.
Mm.
And they it's interesting.
Do you want a drink of water?
Well,
Your voice seems like. Do you want a little sip?
am I getting hoarse?
Yeah, a little.
Oh. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's the only time I've got a semi-award. I had an annual report that I did for National Airlines, which no longer exists.
Yeah.
And when I came to see, after the show was done, to see the awards, the report was pasted open to the center spread. So I got an award for the center spread, but not for the rest of the
Not for
report.
the rest of it.
And
that was from Dorsman or from?
from Llewellyn.
From
And I
Llewellyn.
talked to him afterwards.
Yeah.
And he said, it's beautiful because you handled the type beautifully, everything, and the rest of it was all right. But this stood out. And
Yeah.
It was a nice handling.
It's nice that he bothered. You know, when you're judging shows, sometimes people try to be so dogmatic about the rules, but the reality is, you know.
What
we
is
gotta-
that?
I don't know. Construction. So the reality is that you want people are there to be awarded. So if you find something good in something, or if you need to move something to another category, just do it. Right? It's
Yeah.
not. I think judges make a mistake where they think this show is about how tough I am. And like, no one gives a shit how tough you are or how impossibly high your standards are. Give some awards. Figure out the stuff to give awards to.
They made me feel like crap because I judged the Tampa show.
Yeah.
And the things, Publix ads with specials on the sirloin
Right.
were on the wall. And I couldn't.
Yeah. I've done shows like that too, and there's like a grocery store ad.
Yeah.
But some of the judges will make fun and say, "Look, a grocery," you know. I don't look at it that way. I know somebody was working hard to get the meat in the right place and to make everything look as good as they could. And I know the challenge of even laying out something like that because of where I started.
Well, good for you. I'm glad you did that because they asked me to leave town.
Because you were nasty.
No, I wasn't nasty. I gave best of show to a student.
Oh, but that's okay. Yeah.
No, it wasn't okay.
It wasn't
with them.
okay.
They said leave town.
Yeah.
I don't think you should hang around.
I've been asked to leave meetings and towns and all sorts of stuff. It is okay. So typography today, right? Is there laziness because of the drop-down menu? You know.
I still see lousy type. I see lousy type all the time. People don't know how to kern. Kerning is not taught properly, and I see it constantly.
What would you do if someone handed you the reins to a design school?
The reins to a design school?
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh gosh. I would instantly go back and refresh my memory as to what I learned in the School of Industrial Arts in New York and start teaching that again. How to letter by hand.
You make people letter by hand?
I mean, there would be no...
What's the point?
Because there would be no better way for them to respect shapes. The actual duplication of a shape,
Yeah.
when it's done by hand. I mean, if you do it on a computer, you take so much for granted, and you get so lazy about it.
I think it's true. I think it's true. I mean, if you are forced to hand draw one character,
Yeah.
you learn a lot about design because it's
sure.
so a great tee. It's got a lot going on, a lot of design in there.
And you can certainly, I think you'd be a lot more proud of yourself afterwards. Look what I did, Mom.
So what would you recommend to students who are building their portfolio now? And specifically, if you were a student right now, this is a good question. Would you use crowdsourced projects to like build your portfolio?
Why not? Why not? Because...
I'm not asking why not.
Oh, well...
I'm just asking what you would do.
Okay, I would use them because this is real world. These are real clients with real names,
Yeah.
and they give you real briefs. This
Yeah.
is what we are, this is what we represent and stand for, this is what we want to
But
put
if every
forward.
design student uses crowdsourcing, by the time they graduate, there might be there's no future.
Well, I'm not saying that you should only have logos in your portfolio. That's one portion of your portfolio.
Yeah.
So if you have 2 or 3 logos, if they're the result of a crowdsourced experience,
Yeah.
I said run with it.
I mean, when I remember being in school and you had to make up projects.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember when I dropped out I was going to that art institute of Fort Lauderdale, and I had a real brochure to design, and I wanted to use that in my brochure design class, and
Yeah.
they said, no, you can't do that. And I was like, I'm getting paid to you know,
They wouldn't let you do it?
No. And
Why didn't you tell me?
why? So you could march down there? And
Oh, I
fix-
would have been down there in
You would
10
not have.
seconds.
You wouldn't care. Yeah, like all the other times you went to school. What? That's not gonna happen to my son. No, that's a movie I saw. So, so I dropped out, and obviously, you know, you can learn on your own. But I would have loved actually to have not had to make up projects all the time, to really have real projects to work on.
That's
and
what
the
I think-
potential of getting some dough. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but you know, an internship doesn't pay a lot of money either.
Internships, to me, is one of the great concepts that have come along. We have an intern living with us who's with CPB.
Well, you had, but what do you mean come along? Like there were internships when you were young, weren't there?
No, there were not.
So just serfs.
There wasn't, not even that.
Serviture. Like,
no. No, if we hired anybody, we paid them the minimum wage, and that was that.
Really?
And there was no. If you want to go to school, go to school. I mean, we're not here to teach you. There was a whole different mindset at that time. And this new internship is just a terrific idea. And we watched Katie, who's living with us during her time.
She's interning at CPB.
At PPB. Yeah. She is learning so much. She is coming home with, you know, so much energy. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I said, "No, wait a minute. No. You don't do logos in Photoshop. You don't airbrush logos."
So you're helping her.
So I help her and I tell her what tools to use and where to use them.
Where do you think and maybe you haven't thought about this, but you know, in terms of crowdsourcing, right? It is good for logos. You wouldn't want to try to crowdsource a brochure.
But they do.
Do they?
Of course.
Does it
they
work
have
all right?
brochures. They have writing.
What do you think about writing? Have you
packaging?
Packaging, I could work.
No, I mean,
does it
the
work?
money they offer for packaging is bupkis.
But does it work? Can you get a package out of it?
They do. They award.
I'm not. That's not what I'm asking. Is it just all a pile of shit, or is there some good stuff? Like copy seems really hard. By the time you write the brief for copy, and then
you've copied. You have the copy.
I mean, like, why not write the copy?
Because most writers, most clients are briefers.
You can
They're
brief,
not
but
writers.
you can't put the poetry to it.
No.
So where do you think it stops? Where do you think crowdsourcing kind of finds its level? Because there's things you could do. Are there things that you wouldn't do? Not you personally, but you know, a potential client. What happens?
Who's coming in?
I don't know. Oh, hey.
Happy birthday.
It's your birthday.
It's your
Oh, it's my birthday.
It's your early birthday present.
Thank you.
From Anthony.
Oh, thank you. Anthony at Seneca College sent a cake. That's really cool.
Isn't that sweet?
That's really cool. It's got a little piece of wood on. What is this? That's so. Is that edible?
I think it is.
All right. That was awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. Really
wanna
appreciate
sing
that.
Happy
No, we don't. No.
To you, happy birthday to you.
This is my show.
Happy birthday,
Not supposed to do
dear
this.
Alex. Happy birthday to you.
Oh. That's really good. Do you want a piece?
Yeah. You know, interestingly enough, you're so into natural foods and into organic foods, right? You're into it. Your mother gave birth naturally. You're a natural traveler.
Coincidence?
Isn't it incredible, the coincidence?
Yeah. I came out without any genetic modifications, and I just stuck with it.
No, I actually saw you exit.
I knew this was a bad idea.
Actually, it was an entrance more than an exit.
Yeah, it was
This
a little
was
bit of
both,
both. It was a
wasn't
little
it?
bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, going out through the indoor. So
Enough with the logos
it's
already.
uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. I'll just say, no, I'm not gonna say. I was gonna, yeah. Hey, logos are so interesting. This is a recent one. I kind of like this one.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Queen's English. I'm not, you know, like the type. I like the ligature that was created. I don't even know. Is it when it overlaps? Can you call that a ligature, or is that beyond ligature when it actually overlaps like this?
I never looked up the definition of ligature.
It's
now that
interesting.
you mentioned it, I'll have to look it up.
Because this is like ligature plus when it actually gets on top of each other. But I like the logo form. It's for the Queen's English. Got a crown. Got the Q. Got the E. I'm not sure.
What can you do?
I probably would have. I'm not totally comfortable with the type selection, but I love the concept.
That's the whole thing.
No,
If you're not comfortable with the type, then what do you like about the logo?
you could have done it with all sorts of different typefaces.
No, except this was critical.
I would just look at some others. We'll look at it. Maybe next show we'll bring on some options. Or, you know, tweet us, yeah, we'll crowdsource, you know, tweet us, send some ideas on how you would do a Q and an E together to create.
See, now you sound
Queen's English.
like one of the clients. Well, could you move this thing over
Cheap
a little
shot.
bit? No, I'm out of here.
Cheap shot. Wow, we are like out of time.
Oh, are we?
It goes fast, right?
That flew by.
Yeah, it goes
It
fast.
flew by.
Yeah, R&R1, recent one. There's a theme going on with the what you're doing and how you're putting stuff
Yeah, I
together.
think that was a well conceived
yeah.
thing. Yeah,
It's nice.
Yes.
Thank you for coming on.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was fun.
The time it just went. I had a good time. I hope it's going to be. Was it a good show?
It was strong to very strong.
Oh, geez.
I love you.
Strong. That's a good word.
He didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Has never heard. We'll see you next time, Fearless.
Bye-bye.
Play the music. Play the out music. Art's like, where's the button? I didn't know I was going to do this. Just...
To the vibe, shoot the breeze, discourse dialogue. Bring to light to be revealed with eloquence forever flowing fearless.
Awesome.
It's a wrap.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
Was it good?
It was good, yeah. It was very good.